back later. We'll figure it out. Okay, so my plan was basically I was going to try to edit some of the pictures that I did from my last drive-by, because some of the questions I got were about, how I decided to use certain art filters. Because in that video, in the beginning, I stated that, the images were straight out of camera, and the only thing I did was apply some crop and art filters. But like I said, I wasn't clear that the art filters I applied, I didn't apply them in camera. I applied them in Olympus Workspace. And the other question I got was, I didn't know you could apply multiple filters. And in camera, you can to some extent. But Workspace gives you more flexibility in that respect, that you can apply multiple art filters to one image. And so that's what I did. Now, most of the images that you saw in that drive-by vlog where I went to the thrift store and that bar and the 50s diner, most of those images, the art filters that I used can be done in camera. I didn't have to do them in Workspace. But since I had to crop and straighten things, because, I was doing it handheld, and I don't know how to hold the camera straight, so I knew I was going to have to crop and straighten in post anyway. So I said I'll just do the art filters, and that's where I'm going to go. So, yeah, that fuzz sound is the fans on my laptop here. They're blasting like crazy. I guess it's struggling to stream live. I don't know. Let me tell you, sound has been my nemesis since I started doing these YouTube things. I mean, the ambient noise just around my house is bad, and then this whole area is so bad. But anyway, yeah, I apologize if there's any kind of noise. And yeah, there's a little bit of echo too, right? I'm not sure if that's because this mic here on the camera is picking up, or if it's just the acoustics in my room. Because okay, good. I'm glad the sound's good for most of you, hopefully. But I tried. I mean, let me show you this space here. See, I got like this acoustic crap all over the place, and then up here, this is like acoustic curtains, and then of course the green screen, and then up there some more acoustic stuff. I've seen some like YouTubers, they have like the entire wall covered in this black foam, but I'm not spending that kind of money. So I just bought like this. I spent like $60 on this little bit of foam here, and it didn't really make any difference. Yeah, I've seen those like DIY, like used towels and stuff, but then you have to make the frames and everything, and I'm like, that's too much work. I got this new microphone that I've been testing. That when I just recorded myself and played it back, it was really good. I don't know why on live stream there's obviously some other elements at play here that are messing up the sound from that, because it was perfect when I just recorded stuff here before I went live. Okay, so I'll try and answer some questions, maybe sort of halfway through. Let me get through a couple images first. But just to answer the first one real quick about the pen F not turning on, that happened to me when I first got the camera, about a month after or 2 months after I got it. And so I was still under warranty, and I sent it out to Olympus. Unfortunately, there's one like 2 days away in terms of UPS. To a repair center, and I got it back like within 7 days from my door back to my door. And what they did, if I recall, is they had to replace the EVF. So that's weird, right? but I think that's what they did is they replaced the EVF in my PenF. So if your PenF is still under warranty, you can send that in, and they should be able to fix that. I don't know if it's a common problem or not, but it did happen to me where the thing just wouldn't power on, and I had to turn it off. I tried taking the battery out, all that stuff, right? But yeah, I don't know why that happened, but they fixed it, and it's been perfect ever since. So sorry, I'm just reading this stuff. Had to use the house phone. Ooh. Okay, so like I said, I don't know. Does anybody care if I edit these pictures or not? I don't know. It was the only thing I could think of doing on my first live stream is showing how I edit these pictures, and it's very easy. But yeah, so I started driving down, and before I went out, you know, I looked on Google Maps to see if there were any thrift stores that I could go to, because when I went down in that area last time, there was a couple of thrift stores with stuff just outside, and I got a couple of neat pictures. So I did that, and there was 2 thrift stores. One was this first one that you're seeing here, but it was closed. And then the second one was open, and that's where I got the good shots. But this one here, as you can see, the backlighting and the shadow area is just, it was too much. And, you know, nothing's going to save this picture, really. And it's not a very interesting picture anyway, even if it was exposed well. So I didn't do anything with that. And then you can see I walked around. I tried to take pictures of some of the junk laying around. And just nothing was very interesting, except maybe this. So this is the image I posted on, or not posted, but I did in my vlog, that I showed in my vlog. And you can see, if you can see the thumbnail down here, I did crop in just a little, and I applied a single art filter. So let me reset this like this. And this is the raw image, right? So you can see the white balance is very cool, kind of a cool blue, but that's fine. And in terms of framing, I didn't like this door and all of this clutter down here. I only like these pumpkins. So all I did is I went into the crop button here, and then I select 4:3 because I want to keep the same aspect ratio. It just makes it easier when I'm making the videos that I can use the same template all the way across. But anyhow, and then I'll just crop out the parts I don't like so. And it looks like it's pretty straight, so we're good there. And then I click on the art filter icon. And what did I do? I think I did a vintage on this one. And that was it. And I thought this was a nice picture. Okay, so let's see what else I had in here. Okay, so that was the pumpkin picture. This cabinet sucked. These plants sucked. The front of the store was just terrible. You know, the lighting was bad and just clutter. Looks like my house, actually. And then I proceeded on to drive down to the next thrift store, and I got my camera out and I accidentally touched the back of the screen with my thumb, and it took this picture. So this is the next place I went to. And, you know, when I was there, this was actually kind of a nice looking house. But then when I looked at the image, when I got home, I said, well, it's just not very interesting. It's kind of boring. The only thing I can give you about this picture in terms of how I approach an image, even though this is a boring image, is I'm very conscious of my corners. I really need something to go into one of the corners at the very least. So in this image I have, you can see this double yellow line in the road goes all the way to this corner. If it wasn't worn out, it would go all the way to this corner. So in composing this shot, that's really all I did. All right, then the next image here, again, I accidentally touched the back of the screen. So I didn't even know I took that picture. So this picture is one that I put in my video also, and I took this picture and I said, something's not right. You know, so I looked at the info on the image, and this is what I saw. I said, look at my shutter speed. It's 1/8 of a second. It's because I had my ISO locked in at 200. So I said, that's not going to work in this place. You know, IBIS and everything aside, you cannot take pictures at slow shutter speeds indoors. So I think on the next picture, I did put it into auto ISO, and then I said, okay, this is much better. And I don't worry about auto ISO, and I set it all the way up to like 25,600, just like I did in my Olympus for Beginners series. You know, I still shoot the exact same way as I, taught in that video. I set to auto ISO, I shoot an aperture priority, and, auto white balance, pretty much everything auto, autofocus, etc. And I let the camera do most of the heavy lifting for me. And then all I have to do is dial in maybe a little exposure comp and then focus on the composition and the subject matter. So in this image, I didn't quite like this composition. So I took another picture. Let me see, it would have been cool, the sewing wheel on the right to show the gold design. I think I tried that. Let me see. I'll show you another image in a second here. But this is the image that I showed on the vlog, right? And this is something I believe you can do in camera, but I did this in Workspace. So again, very simple. Let me reset it. This is the raw image, and I wanted to get this book in the foreground, but I think all I did is I went to crop. I select 4:3. So, because if you don't select this 4:3 first, then it's like it's freehand, right? You can just do anything you want. So I need a little bit of more consistency. So I think all I did was something like this. And I tried to avoid this door handle because that's a little bit too modern compared to the rest of the image, right? And then I click on this, the art filter. I picked gentle sepia. And just below this, there's an effects button. And this is how you add the white border. So I just add this white edge effect. And the reason I did that is because most of the image around the corners is pretty light color anyway. And so I make these decisions based on everything else in the frame. If I'm going to choose sort of a whitish border, or if I'm going to do more of a pinhole effect if it's going to be dark, and you'll see that in another image. But that's all there was to that. Let's see. So at F1, I think, were you asking me if I did a picture more like this from this side where you could see the gold? I don't know. I took this shot because, yeah, I said, let me try a different angle, because I kind of like to see the needle, because this is where the action is, right? When you have a sewing machine, really. But I couldn't make that work for some reason. And so I just decided to move on, because there were so many things in the shop to take pictures of. I wasn't going to work too hard on just one thing, right? Because there's a lot of things there to take pictures of. So I just quickly moved around. I think I was in and out of this antique shop like in 30 minutes. I really wasn't there very long. All right, so here's the typewriter and a diffused flash. Would that have helped? In what way? On the you talking about on the sewing machine to illuminate the lettering a little better? Probably, probably. But I was doing everything without flash that day. You know, I love off-camera flash, but I didn't bring one that day. And it's weird to like use a flash in someone else's store, right? I think the tighter is better with clutter. Okay, I'm not sure what the tighter is, ribs, but here's the typewriter. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It was just a simple monochrome or grainy film 2, probably, I think. And that's all. I think I didn't even use this image. I think it was another one. And I used the monochrome 2 profile that was in the Pen F. So I got this typewriter, you know, nothing there. And then I got this camera. Now this camera, I thought this was a great shot. Oh yeah, Dave, yeah, it would definitely would have helped. I would have sort of crushed the ambient light in the background with the flash. And I've done a lot of videos on that. But yeah, basically you would set your exposure like -2 or 3 stops for the ambient light, and then you would manually power the flash to illuminate the subject, the typewriter or sewing machine, and focus the light of the flash either with like one of those snoots that I use, or just bring the flash up really close to the typewriter itself so it doesn't spread out to the rest of the room. But okay, so this is the other image I did in the vlog. So let me reset this. This is a very simple image. So you can see the original. I framed this pretty well. And again, I want you to look at the corners, right? I'm always very conscious of my corners. So I had the corner of this table down into this corner. So I'm trying to read things at the same time. And all I did was simply did a gentle sepia because, I don't know, it just looks old, right? Where is that? Right here. And then for effects, I think I did 2 things. I did the white edge effect. What did I do? I can't even remember. I think I did this in a pinhole effect and soft focus. And this is something you can do in Workspace, but not in camera. You can usually pick 1 art filter and 1 effect, but with Workspace, you can pick 1 art filter and 2 effects, and then just apply. So I didn't even have to crop that because I framed it. I framed that just perfectly, in my opinion. So I got this corner in. All right, let's go down. Let's see. There were some other cameras there that would have been, you know, that make nice pictures, I think. But this one I didn't use because, again, I missed the corner here. I think this entire shelf goes from the corner out to here, but I decided not to use this one just for that reason. And then this one here, I know an Ansco, right? It didn't work though. This image here, again, I didn't like the framing because I got the bottom here that has nothing, and then I have like this tag here. I could have moved it, but the shelf was so cluttered anyway. I said, where am I going to move it to? So I didn't include that one. And then here's a beautiful land camera that I got last week or 2 weeks ago. I didn't buy this one, but they had the exact same one here at the store. And I posted an image of that on my Instagram or somewhere. So you guys have seen that before, so I didn't include that. Let's see. This was like a miniature drawer and shelf, and I was hoping something would work because I like the books in the shelf, but then this lamp is just, it didn't work. If this lamp were higher up and illuminating down a little more, then it would have looked a little more natural, I think. But where the lamp is now, it just it looks artificially placed. You know, now it looks like a store, right? Like it's something they're selling in a store versus maybe something that's actually on somebody's desk. So I just, you know, the subject matter bored me there. Oh, here's the same thing. Let's see. Oh, yeah, these projectors, right? Same idea. If you look at the original image, I didn't really have to crop or straighten this. I think I framed this just right from the beginning. What I liked about this one was the way the two wheels here are kind of intersecting. It's almost like the two cameras are kind of in love. Just the way I saw it. And all I did was do, how come this doesn't undo? I was just going to flip back to the original settings, but all I had to do was obviously, I just applied a gentle sepia, and then I added the effect of a soft focus and pinhole. And there you have it. So you have a nice soft sepia image, right? Yeah, same thing here. Pinhole effect, sepia, but I don't think I added soft image because I wanted to try to get some of the detail from the keys. And again, you know, just kind of look at my corners here. I'm going from this corner up to this corner, a little bit off, but that's where, you know, again, that's just my thinking of in composition. I always like to go for the leading line. And no, these weren't at a museum. This was just at a thrift store that I went to. It's in my last vlog episode, I think 194, where I went to a thrift store, I went to a bar, and then I went to a diner. Oh, thanks, Dave. Okay. So here's the typewriter. And yeah, this was just, looks like, let's see. Yeah, grainy film 2. The difference between grainy film 1 is like super high contrast, and grainy film 2 is just less contrast, a little less grain. And all I did was add a frame. I don't think, let me reset this. Yeah, I didn't even have to reframe this. I mean, because the subject matter is all right here in the keys. But again, I'm not super crazy about this image, but it was okay. There were typewriters in the thrift store, and I wanted to have at least one in the vlog. Yeah, Tri-X, right? I mean, I haven't shot Tri-X myself, but the images I've seen from Tri-X online, yeah, they're beautiful. So then I tried to capture like the keys and stuff, or I forget what you call those things inside the typewriter, but that didn't work, obviously. Now this shot, after I looked at it, I was like, this looks like a crab looking at you. So it just kind of, I didn't like it. What I should have done is gone up a little higher, come down on the typewriter so that you can see all of the lines from these keys in here. But I didn't think of it. Like I said, I was just trying to move around quickly as I can. Now this shot, I did get a shot of this later that sort of worked for me. This shot didn't work for me because of this bottle right here. I feel like something's cut off in the picture. So it just didn't look good to me the way it is. But I said, I'm going to come back to this because there's a shot here. This is not it. Then I got a shot of this typewriter, and I should have dialed the exposure down, maybe a -1 or 2 stops. This image is just too bright. But it was really neat. They decorated this, you know, with the skulls, and they littered it inside with these little orange lights. So it looked good in person, but when I took the picture, I said, this doesn't look good at all. So here I am. I'm back to this other shelf with these old cans of crap that you would find in somebody's closet, you know, maybe 50 years ago. And what I did was I said, this is the shot I want. It was just a little bit off. I wanted to capture this a little bit more because on that can, it had a little star on it. So this is the final image that I went with. And all I did here, I think, what is this, Vintage 3, and then I added a pinhole effect. So again, this is one, let me just reset it. This is one I didn't have to crop or straighten or anything. I just simply did a Vintage 3. Where is it? Here, Vintage 3, and then effect, I just added the pinhole for vignetting. And I don't know, I think this image by itself, there's nothing special, but I think as part of like a collection of pictures from this place, it has some value. And as far as, there's a question here, rating Olympus Workspace versus Lightroom. There's no comparison. Lightroom is you know, with the Photoshop combo, is by far superior for really advanced editing. Now, me personally, I actually use Olympus Workspace for most of my vlogs and photo walks and everything. I just use Olympus Workspace because I don't really have to make any dramatic changes or do any serious editing to the pictures, right? Like this one here, I was very comfortable with the framing. The exposure was spot on. And all I had to do is give it a little, you know, flair with some art filters and some vignetting. And as you can see from almost every image from this one particular photo walk and vlog, I really didn't have to do much editing in terms of exposure. In fact, none of the images in that vlog did I do any editing with the exposure. Everything was spot on. The images that I didn't use in the vlog were usually because the exposure was wrong, like the one that I showed with the typewriter. Where is that? Like this one. This one, the exposure was too strong. I mean, the exposure is accurate according to the camera, and if you look at it, yeah, it is, but it's not the exposure I wanted, not the vision that I had. And the only other image that I think the exposure was wrong was the very first one, where if I tried to, you know, recover the shadows, it would be, you know, the highlights would be all gone. Not that there's anything there, but then that would look stupid, right? And the shadows were very harsh. So for my personal editing for my vlogs and my photo walks, I would say 9 times out of 10 I used Olympus Workspace, and you really don't need to get Photoshop and Lightroom. And the only reason I go to, yeah, Workspace is it's not available. Okay, I'll look into that. Let me make a note. If I find it, I'll do a community post with a link to it. Where's my notepad? Seriously. How can I not have a single piece of paper here? Oh, here it is. I just reorganized my desk. Okay, so let me make a note. Workspace download for Dave. All right. Okay, Dave, I'll look for it. If I find it, I'll put a link to it in my community post. Okay, so okay, you put your serial number in, and so it's available. You put your serial number in, then what happened? It didn't take you to someplace to link? Well, like I said, I'll try mine again. If not, you know, the other thing I can do, that's probably not legit. I was going to say I could put a link to, I could upload it to my Google Drive and you could download it directly from my drive, but I don't know if that's a legit thing or not. there might be some sort of licensing redistribution issue with that in the fine print, and then I'll get in trouble. But I'll put a link in the community description to, because the best place to download that stuff sometimes is from the Japanese Olympus website. So maybe try going there. I don't know exactly what it's called, but do Olympus Japan and go to that website and see if it takes you to a different link to download it. Okay, but yeah, I was kind of elaborating on. Oh, you tried Japan? Sorry, Dave. I'm not sure. The only other thing you can do is try going into your browser. Try a different browser if you have one, because sometimes like you might have pop-ups on. The other thing you need to check for is if you have like one of those ad blockers and cookie blockers. Make sure all that's turned off. Maybe turn off your virus software just for that one download. A lot of times that's what blocks certain sites from working. But sorry, let me finish my thought about Olympus Workspace and Lightroom. Now Lightroom, like I said, Workspace I use 9 times out of 10 for my vlogs and photo walks. But Lightroom I have to use for my professional work in real estate because I'm bracketing images. Because think about it, you take a picture inside a house and you have bright sun coming in the window. No camera on earth is going to be able to expose for that. And I used to do HDR where you bracket like 5 exposures, and no, that looks terrible. So I have to use Lightroom. And I did, there's one thing that I am sort of in the back of my mind I'm trying to work on is how much can I recover from the shadows in Olympus Workspace versus using Lightroom, right? Because there was one image that I took a picture of in Alexandria that I was able to recover the shadows and bring the image up to something decent in Lightroom that I could not do in Olympus Workspace. So that's something I'm going to have to look into a little more. I might say I'll have to say that for another time, because when you have Lightroom already, you don't waste too much time with something that doesn't work, right? Oh, okay. Can you do bracketing and HDR at the same time? I don't think you can do that in camera. Because when you do HDR in camera, I think it only saves one of the raw images, if that, and then it creates a JPEG with the 3 or 4 images already merged together. If you're talking about the HDR in camera, now if you do HDR bracketing in camera, where it takes the 5 images or however many, then it'll save those 5 raw images. That you'll have to combine in post-processing yourself using some HDR software. I don't think Workspace has HDR software built in that'll combine those images, but Lightroom does, and it does, a pretty decent job. So, I think did that answer your question, Dave and Ribs? I'm not sure. If not, maybe ask me a different way so I can understand a little better. Okay, good. All right. But yeah, so Lightroom also has, and Photoshop, but Lightroom in particular has a lot of like fine tuning, and you can do gradient masks and just so many other things that really help you work with an image that you just can't do in Workspace. So if you really get heavy into photo editing, Lightroom is pretty awesome. Lightroom also has a really good database or asset management type qualities to it. Because in Workspace, the only thing you can do is like add star ratings, add color marks, and that's it, right? You can't like add keywords or search by camera model or search by lens. All those things are just not available in Workspace. So I really use Lightroom as both like a data cataloging or photo cataloging software in addition to editing my images when I do my professional work. But generally speaking, Workspace is fine. And I'll just give you a quick look at how I organize things, and it's basically all chronological, right? But you can see how long these folders can get. So what I do is I break it down. I have my pictures folder. Within that picture, I call this my Lightroom main catalog. And then I break it down by year, 2019. And then I break 2019 down into 3 quarters. So I'm going to have to add 4th quarter today. But that way I can drill down very quickly, 2019, 3rd quarter. Then I just have to scroll down to the end of this. And because otherwise you're going to have a huge directory, right, of 365 days. That's not going to make any sense. So that's just how I break it down chronologically. Now you can see sometimes there's subfolders here, and this is when I was shooting my film camera side by side, because it was on the same day, right? So I wanted to separate my digital camera images from my film images. But that's really the only time I do subfolders within a date, is for special circumstances like that. Like here's September 4th, and here's my OM2M images. And it doesn't look like Olympus Workspace sees any of them. So yeah, Olympus Workspace will work with TIFF files. I'll have to come back to that when I have a better idea why they're not showing. Oh, that's because of my filters up here. I put raw only. So if I go back to this, right, 2015, here's all my digital images. These are my film images that I scanned in as a TIFF file, and Olympus Workspace can see JPEGs and TIFFs. So I can do, just click on photos. Even though it doesn't say TIFF here, if you just click on photos, it'll pull up all the TIFF files. And this is one of my personal favorite images. So that's that. Okay. There. Now, back to editing. Let's go down. And, if anybody actually watched that vlog, if there was a particular image you wanted me to talk about, let me know. Because I'll probably miss it. Oh, I like this one here. Okay, here's this one. I think all I did was did pinhole. For the scan, I just used this V550 scanner here. It's a Epson V550. It's like less than $200 now, and it's an awesome scanner. Now, the only thing I wanted to say about this image, again, you're seeing the same thing where I watch my corners to make sure at least something is touching the corners, right? So I got this touching the corner. And the only thing I would have done differently, and well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me reset it. You can see that the image itself, that once I reset it, is not much different. I didn't have to crop or straighten. And all I did was apply a pinhole effect. And I was done, right? But the only thing I should have done differently in this image is that piano was only about this big. And what would have made this picture a lot better is if I actually put my finger on one of the keys so that you get some perspective of the size of the piano. Because from this image, it's kind of hard to tell because it was like a little kid's, antique toy piano. So I should have put my finger on one of the keys on this image, and that's the only thing I would have done differently. And this I didn't do anything, right? I just wanted to show you guys. I found they had some old box of pictures there with old photos in it. And I should have bought a few. Maybe next time I go back, I'll buy some of these images because I really like looking at the these old photos. These were dated, what, 1936. So, you know, it's just interesting to me personally, and I thought I'd share that with you. Yeah, Dave, I'm going to do a video on how I scan my negatives. But in the meantime, uh, if you want to scan your own film images, there's a lot of tutorials on there. But there's a guy, I think his channel is called Pushing Film. Now don't go there. He talks about scanning using your camera. You can use your camera to scan old negatives, but then that requires I don't know, I didn't like it. I watched Nick Carver. He has a tips on scanning with your Epson scanner. And he uses a different software to scan, but the basic tips of the setup of putting the negatives into the trays and everything like that, I think is good to watch, so that when you're if you get your own flatbed scanner, you can kind of use some of the tips that he had there. But I honestly, I've not seen, I watched about maybe 10 different videos on how to scan negatives. And and I always watch a video thinking, how can I do this for you guys, right? Like, how can I do a tutorial on this that, in my style, right? Sort of deep dive into every little thing. And just a tip, I know a lot of my videos are very slow. I'm not the most or the fastest speaker, because when I'm trying to teach something, my brain slows down to about half speed, so I don't miss anything. But and if I take too long, I forget what I'm talking about. It's gone. Sorry, I didn't even know where I was going with that. Oh yeah, I was watching 10 videos, and I didn't see any that made any sense. If you like the way I do videos, if you watch those videos, they're gonna suck. I mean, they work for me to some extent, because I watched about 10 of them, and then from those 10, I was able to kind of put together something that worked well. But every one of those videos had some flaw or some missing element that I think you would need to know, or need to know why not, right? So I'll make a video on scanning using the V. It's a V as in Victor 550 scanner that I use right here. And it's not hard, though. You could scan things on auto, because it comes with software, and the images will come out fine. But if you want to have like sort of that raw image flexibility, there's definitely some tweaking that you need to do. All right. Man, how long has this been going on? Almost an hour. Oh my God. You know what? I'll stay on as long as you want, but let's take a potty break. All right. So I'm gonna come back in 1 minute. And everybody can take a break, get something to drink, talk amongst yourself. But let me just take a 1 minute break, okay? I was really dehydrated there from talking for almost an hour straight. All right, let me put this as close as I can. All right, it's a little bit short. Oh man. I'll get started again in just a second. This little moth, I don't know, he died right here on my table. And I'm saving him for maybe some macro photography tutorial. Or just take a macro shot, I don't know. But he's just all brown. He's not very interesting in terms of color. But he's perfectly preserved. I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see. Where is he? Yeah, right here. This little moth here. He just he just died right there on my table. So sad. But oh, this little mic sounds good. I just can't believe it. I'm really disappointed because this microphone here. I have to do a review on this later because they sent this to me. It's like a $60 mic, and I was going to use it for the live streaming because when I was recording separately, when I wasn't live streaming, the sound from this was way better than this because I did compare these two. But there's some live streaming issue apparently. I'll have to work that out with. I have another friend of mine. He'll bear with me while we test it, but. Okay, so does anyone want me to continue looking at some of these edits or how I did these edits? Because let's see. I tried to get pictures of these Coke bottles, and you can see I took about 6 or 8 pictures, and I just didn't like any of them. I couldn't get the composition right. Let's see. Yeah, I did walk. So now I'm done with this place and I'm leaving, right? And I saw all these bottles outside sitting on a chair. So I took this picture, but then, I didn't like it. So I tried a couple more. And I ended up with this one because if you look at this first one, you can see I cut off the bottom of the tray here. And I think that's why I didn't like it. So I got a little lower. And then all I did here was just apply the, and I'll reset it for you. So you can see I didn't have to crop or tilt or straighten or anything. I think this was the composition I wanted. And all I had to do was gentle sepia and then just add those 2 effects, right? Soft focus, and I think I went with pinhole and apply, and that was it. So again, I don't know, this, for me personally, this was one of my better days in composition. I was really nailing it for the most part. I only took 1 or 2 shots really, and then I got it. Now this church I tried to get because I like the leaves on the door, but I didn't want to get out of my car. So I'm sitting there in the parking lot with a 17mm lens trying to get these leaves or these wreaths on the door. And after I thought about it, if that's the only thing that's about this church that was nice, then I'm not going to bother. I mean, I kind of like the windows too, right? But these are better taken inside the church than outside. So I just gave up on this. And then this is the house I almost drove by in that vlog and hit the because I was looking at the liquor store on the other side of the street. I almost drove right past this thing. Uh, but I took so many pictures that are almost identical. Uh, because again, I was trying to get something in the corner, like this line going up to the corner. Then I was trying to do rule of thirds, and then I split the horizon in half, and that just didn't look good. So I think I ended up with oh, here it is. I ended up doing actually the opposite. You can see the crop lines here. I ended up cropping, in a landscape mode, then putting the house, front and center. And the problem was I thought I had brought my 45 millimeter lens so that I could sort of compress the shot even better, but I didn't bring it. So I'm sitting there, 200 yards away from a house with a 17 millimeter lens. Okay, bye. So I don't have my glasses on. It's F1 remaining or something. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming in. Oh, I'm sorry it's so early in the morning there in the UK. I might have to start earlier. Maybe I'll do a community post or poll to see what time is best, generally speaking, or maybe I can do it twice, right? One at one time, one at another one. Oh, is it Fireman? I'm sorry, Fireman. Thank you, Dave. Where are my glasses? They're here. Oh, I can see that. Yeah. It's ironic, that I'm so blind, but I love photography. Yeah, over to the left. Interesting. Yeah, that would have worked. I tried walking over to the left side of this house. Um, Clearly that's on the right. Oh, you know what I was doing here? I was trying to do a pano. I took two shots. I took one on the left and one on the right, and then I was going to try and do a wide pano. But the house was so far away, there was just no point to it. This is a little bit more over to the left. But the problem I was having if I moved over to the left is this pole would move in front of the house. So yeah, I could have pointed the camera over, but then I really wanted to be, because when you do architectural photography, you have to have the plane of the sensor almost completely parallel with the plane of the home of the structure. And yeah, if I walked over to the left, I all of a sudden, that the sensor would be not on the same plane as the structure or the house. And then you start running into, the house looking a little bit weird. I mean, it's very subtle, and you can probably correct some of that skewing error in post, but I try to avoid that as much as I can. So moving to the left was not an option for that reason. I didn't like that skewing error. And I did a video on like correcting for fisheye problems where I went over, actually, I should have called it an architectural photography, tutorial, because it was really more about how to get your lines straight in a building, because that's what I do professionally is real estate photography. And, getting your lines straight is like an important thing, after focus, right, and lighting. But everything's important. Yeah, post-processing. I try to avoid post-processing as much as I can. You can see all the images up to this point. Um, I I haven't really even needed to crop at all, come to think of it, up to this point. All I had to do is just apply an art filter. And then I was done. Okay, good night, Fireman. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. I'll try and do maybe a couple of live streams at different times. Um, I'll get one of those world clocks and see what time it is in different parts. Because I know I have a pretty good audience in the UK and Germany. All the English-speaking countries over there. And No, again, I lost my train of thought. Oh, hi. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so let's get past this house because I didn't like that picture. I almost didn't include it. The only reason I included this picture, I think it was this one that I put, or was it the other one? Was because I missed it when I was driving by, and it was kind of funny because I know that happens to a lot of people. You're in Thailand, Dave. Wow, that's nice. So I just included it because of the fact that I almost missed it and I got the shot. I had to include it, so it had some value there to me. Oh, thanks, Hannah. Okay, let's see. So I drove up the road a little further, and then I ran into this this barn, and this was another one that I just rolled the window down on my passenger side, and I held the camera out and got the shot. But again, I'm using a 17 millimeter with things that are like 200-300 yards away or 200-300 meters away. So the shots are way too wide, particularly when I was doing these kind of shots. So you can see the crop here is pretty extensive. But this is the shot that I saw in my head when I saw it. So let me reset this image. And this is the full image that I saw. And I kind of like this barn over here, but it was a little bit too covered up. So all I did was, let's see. I think I kept a 4:3 crop, and then all I did was crop in to the point that if I had my 45 millimeter lens with me, I would have got this shot like this. Because usually when I'm driving around, I would have, I bring my 45 millimeter and my 75, not so much, but usually the 45 is good enough. And I totally forgot it that day. I thought it was in the bag, but it wasn't. But anyway, I just cropped it like that. And then I went over to the art filter, and then I forget what art filter I used. But almost any art filter would work, right? So we can do vintage. No, it wasn't vintage. Maybe it was a pinhole. Actually, vintage looks good. So here's the vintage filter. And then I need to put some vignette in. So I just added some pinhole and not starlight, and then frame it. And that's it. So like I said, I hate post-processing. So using these filters and crops, it's very, I can get through these images pretty quickly. Let's see. Now this is the diner in the daytime. And again, I was just driving by and I grabbed a quick shot because I just wanted to see what was there because I wanted to come back to it because everything here lights up at night. So this was not the shot that I was going to use. It was just a reference shot for later. But then as I was driving around, I saw these like tractor trailers parked on the side, like up on the grass. So I just pulled over and I grabbed some shots. And I think I ended up with this. Actually, this is the one I ended up using. What is this? Just a grainy filter too. Nothing special. So I tried a few different angles. I like this one. I don't know why. I just like how there's this tree in the middle, and then how these two trucks just kind of, your eyes are kind of led into the middle. And all I did here was apply, I think it was a vintage 3 filter and some vignette. And a slight crop, just to center it a little bit, because I was a little bit off center. Yeah, post-processing is, filters are post-processing, but most of the work's done for you, right? All the color adjustments and everything. It's like 2 or 3 clicks and I'm done. I don't have to think. So I don't really consider it post-processing. It's more just applying filters. I don't know, but technically you're right. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this shot didn't work at all. I was trying something there. And you know, there's a lot of reasons this shot doesn't work because look at my corners. Nothing lines up in the corners, right? So there's nothing there. So I didn't use that. This didn't work for me either. What is this? Yeah, I was trying to get underneath the truck. That didn't work. This shot might work. But I already had two pretty good shots of these trailers. They're not trucks, these trailers. I think I can do something with this shot maybe later and include it in my photo album. Because you guys, you know what I've been doing lately? I actually been printing my stuff. I went down. Oh, I went down to Goodwill and I buy these photo albums for like $3, right? And okay, Dave, see you later. Thanks for coming in. But I've been, you know, just printing my shots, you know, with my little printer and just keeping them because I think these pictures, when you put them together, they're a lot more interesting than individually. And this shot of these tractor trailers where I got kind of underneath, I'll work with it a little bit, but I think that'll be a good picture to put together in like an album. Because by itself, it's not that interesting, but I think in an album it would be. Okay, let's see. I was trying to get something going on with these tree leaves. It looked good to the naked eye, but I couldn't capture what I saw on camera. Yeah, I got to practice this more. I didn't know what to do with it. You can see I took, let's see, looks like I took like 10 shots trying different things. Just didn't work. And this is a shot. This is a first for me. It's hard to see. But right here, I was trying to get a shot of this horse and buggy. These are apparently there's some Amish out there. I had no idea there was Amish people in Maryland, but this was like a couple of Amish guys in this horse and buggy. So it was a first for me. So I just tried to grab a shot of it, but ended up focusing on the window. This is where I hit the farmer's market, and nothing special here. Again, just pinhole filter with, and that's all I did here. I don't think I even had to crop. Let me reset this. Yeah, I just applied a pinhole filter. And honestly, this picture is not very good anyway. I think this picture, if I take this into Lightroom, I might be able to do it in Workspace. But if I make this a black and white image and add a lot of texture and clarity to really bring out the contrast of the textures of the individual, what is that? Maybe squash or something. It would be a lot more interesting because right now the squash and everything is too smooth. But I do like the lighting of the these squash in the way they are. The lighting is really good on these, but I'm missing detail and texture. So that's something I need to work on maybe later in Lightroom. I mean, I don't know if I can do anything here. Let me try. I'll just try something real quick. What if I add like a ton of clarity? Yeah, see? That's looking better already to me. And again, I didn't do it for the vlog mainly because I wanted everything to be pretty much straight out of camera with one or two filters, right? Applied without having to do any editing. Because really, if I'm going to do an editing video, it's going to be have a whole separate thing. It's not going to be part of some kind of drive-by or photo walk. But yeah, this is something I think, and then, oh, dehaze adds nice contrast too. So that kind of helps. But you can kind of see where I'm going with this. You know, the tone curve, I don't like messing with this too much, but I mean, yeah, I'm liking that picture a lot better already. Just from here's what it was kind of before. This is the JPEG image that was captured to this. So that actually, that might be something I'll put on Instagram. I kind of like that now. Okay, so let's move on. Here's some apples, simple crop, and let's see what art filter. A pinhole art filter, nothing special there. Bunch of pumpkins. Let me set the filter to raw only. Yeah, vintage filter with a pinhole applied. So a lot of these images, I'm just kind of repeating myself, right? This is another image that I had to crop a lot because, again, I didn't have my 45 millimeter. But I'll reset it. I used to really freak out when I reset images because a lot of times I put so much work into it, and then I was afraid I was going to lose everything. But now with just Olympus Workspace, all I have to do is just apply 1 or 2 art filters and crop. So even if I reset this, it doesn't phase me at all because it's no big deal. But here's the original image, right? So let me just crop it like so. So again, I keep the 4:3 aspect ratio and put the car sort of in the rule of thirds. Maybe get rid of that second garage, something like this. So now I don't have any of this garage in here. And let me balance the trees a little bit. I want the tree line to kind of come right down to the car, like so. And then, what did I do? Probably a vintage. Yeah. And then add an effect, just frame it. And maybe a pinhole. And that's it. And I really like this image. And if you zoom, if I punch in, you'll see when it snaps in. There's still a lot of good detail on this image. This little circle thing is still turning. But yeah, this car is still really pretty crisp. And remember, the vintage filter, it actually adds a little bit of softness to the image in addition to just changing the colors. But yeah, so that's all I did with that image. Oh, this image here. This image came out nice. All I had to do was a pinhole filter. Let me reset it. I didn't have to crop or straighten or anything. I just applied a pinhole filter. And I'm done. And I think that turned out to be a really nice picture. This next image, yeah, this key line, okay, the 2 other art filters are the key line and the watercolor. The watercolor, I'm still having trouble finding subjects that works for, but I can kind of see where some things that it will work for. I just haven't used enough. But the key line one, I actually like a lot. It made this look very cartoonish. But let me reset it so you can see the original. There's the original, right? Which is not a bad picture. And I think all I did was crop slightly. Something like this. But I think I was trying to get this corner. I was trying to get this corner in. But I didn't want to cut off this umbrella too much, so I stopped right here. what I really wanted to do is kind of get this line into this corner, but I was cutting off this umbrella too much. And I really felt like this umbrella sort of added to the ambience of the shot. And there was just no way to do, I couldn't do it all. So I just decided to do something like this instead. So I get more of that umbrella in. And then I just simply applied the keyline filter and then added a frame like so. Oh, thank you, Hannah. Yeah, the sunset shot was pretty nice. Let me before I kind of went over that really fast, but let me see where did it go? This one. Let me see if I did anything other than just push the shutter button. Because sometimes if I look in the EXIF data, I can see if I dialed in any exposure comp or did anything else to that picture. No, here's the exposure bias. I didn't even have to dial in exposure bias. So the camera did all of the heavy lifting on this image in terms of exposure. It kept the highlights pretty much all there. A little bit is gone right here, but camera did a really good job of exposing for this. So I didn't have to do anything. It just came out right. Yeah, the keyline, yeah, something you got to, yeah, when I first started using it, I was like, this is stupid. It looks terrible. But then you start to get a feel for what each filter is going to be good for, what images will work with what filters. Because yeah, it wasn't easy for me at first either to decide what filters to use with what images. It's just a matter of just going out and trying constantly. And that's what's really nice about Workspace is you can go back to all your raw images and apply these filters and see what works and what doesn't. And then you can do them when you're out in the field directly in camera. Because that's normally how I like to shoot. I like to see what it's going to look like in camera and get that shot with whatever filter applied and just use the JPEG and upload it through Instagram or whatever. But on this walk, I shot everything raw, then came back and just applied the filter in post-processing here in a Workspace. But I'm able to do that now because when I take the picture, I already know what the art filter is going to do. So I don't want to waste memory card space and waste shutter time and everything, because there's a little delay sometimes when you apply art filters. I didn't have to waste any time in the field when I took these pictures. I already knew when I got home exactly what filter I was going to apply to these. Some of them I had to guess a little bit, but for the most part, this one I knew right away. This is a keyline picture. Let's see. Yeah, this was straightforward. I think this is the one I used in the vlog. This one I just, if you look at the raw image, let's go back. You can see the raw image was a little bit flat. And this is one that I thought maybe a keyline. This is one of those where I had to experiment a little bit because you can see keyline didn't look too good. I mean, it's not bad, but I already did one keyline picture. And keyline is one of those filters that you need to, if you just sprinkle them in your photos every now and then, it looks great. But if I start doing every photo in this particular art filter, it's going to get old fast. Kind of like the fisheye lenses, right? You don't want to do every picture with a fisheye. I mean, they look really cool if you have one or two here and there, but if you do them all the time, yeah, it's going to get old fast. So I didn't want to do keyline, so I think I just went with Pop Art 2 because I wanted to really get the colors to punch. And then all I did from here was apply, I think, a frame. Let's see, where is it here? something like that. And well, this white border doesn't work too well, but maybe a pinhole, soft focus. Yeah, I did soft focus on this because once I punched up the colors, the image was a little bit too strong between all the ripples in the water and the strong colors and the dark, almost black shadows. So let me just soften it up. So I just put a soft filter on it, and I thought that looked pretty good. But again, it's very easy. You can see just a couple of clicks. You can take sort of a bland image like this and really make it pretty nice, at least, with just a few clicks. I was trying to get this flag in. I don't think I used this in the vlog. Nothing worked. I really played with a lot of art filters, and I couldn't get anything to make this a nice picture. And it's mainly a composition problem. I really like the water out here with this pier, and then the sky was really amazing. And it's hard to see in this, probably in the live streaming, but it didn't work for me. And then this is cross process. This is a really tough art filter to use as well. And it's something that is very hard to visualize when you're out there taking the pictures. So usually, this is the filter I use as last resort when I have an image, because if we look at the raw image, this is an okay image, but there's nothing special about it. It looks like a snapshot that, yeah, you went to this really cool bar. So, and any kind of art filter I might apply to it, it's just going to make it worse, right? Like this is dramatic tone, it's okay. But if I do pinhole, honestly, none of these filters, I think, in my opinion, do anything to save this picture. So the cross-process filters are really filters of last resort. So first, I always like cross-process too. I tried two, but there's already a lot of red in this scene. And that's what cross-process do. It just makes a lot of red. So I tried the cross-process one. And then I said, okay, now we have some magic. Now I really like this picture. And then all I had to do was frame it like so. And I was done. So cross-process, like I said, if you got an image that nothing else works on, you weren't able to edit it yourself or apply an art filter that looked good, try cross-process as last resort. And then you end up with something that I think this is kind of a cool picture now. And then compositionally, really all I have is, some symmetry with these two windows and this one leading line, this table leading up to the windows. And that's what I saw when I was there. I said, I have this leading line and I have this table that draws your eye to the windows. And then when you look out the windows, I have the symmetry of the two windows, but then what's outside the window is just kind of blah. So, like I said, I couldn't get this image to work because what was outside the windows really sucked. But then this cross process ended up saving it, in my opinion. All right. All right, then here's some selfies, which I didn't use this one because I'm looking at the flip out screen. I'm not looking at the lens. And then I did it again. Anyway, I finally got one that I liked. Wasn't that one, or was it? It was this one. Yeah, now I'm looking at the camera, right? I'm looking at the lens. And then I applied a vintage art filter, framed it, and then I added the starlight effect and just cropped it slightly. Yeah, that was a good time. And the waitress there, she was really hot. I have a picture of her here. That picture doesn't do it justice. Oh, here. Yeah. And, what's really what you really don't know about these pictures is I want you to look at the ISO on these pictures. Let me go over here. It's a little easier. That wasn't easy. Here. I took this picture at ISO 25,600. Oh, hi, Yanis. And let me reset this real quick. This is the raw image. Look at the raw image, and then if I punch in, let it snap in. Oh, that's the background, but yeah, this is what people see when they say, yeah, the high ISO images suck, you know, on Micro Four Thirds or whatever. But honestly, you know, when you frame the picture and do just, you know, get a decent composition going on, like there's a little bit too much headroom here, so I just cropped it in like this and put her on that side. So now I have the cash register, and then all I did was apply a vintage filter and frame it and pinhole, and I was done. But yeah, I'm never afraid to use high ISO, you know, with our cameras, despite all of the, you know, crap that you hear about Micro Four Thirds isn't good in low light. Yeah, you're going to get a better image with a, you know, full frame camera in terms of noise, but honestly, you know, if you take a bad picture to begin with, if the composition's wrong, the lighting's wrong, if the subject matter, you know, is bad, what difference does it make? You know, ultimately, I really like this picture because I like her. You know, I might go back there. Yeah, she's young enough to be my daughter, but she was cute. So I never worry about high ISO. Same thing with this image of me, right? This is another 25,600 ISO shot, and yeah, so what? You know, it's awesome. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, once you have filters on, the ISO doesn't matter as much. Just like with any post-processing. All right, so here's the diner. This shot's okay. I don't know if I included this one or not. Oh, hi, Pete. Yeah, I did talk about that a little in the beginning. I'll summarize that in a minute. Um, between Lightroom and Workspace. But let me reset this. You can see the raw image is this. So what I did is I cropped out this bumper or whatever it is sitting here. And oops, let me put 4:3. I think that's all I did for cropping. Something like that. And I can't even remember what art filter I used. Wasn't Keyline. Probably pop art or something. And then just added a frame. And that's it. Oh, no. You know what? I used a cross-process filter on this. This one I actually did think ahead when I took this picture. I was like, you know, with these neon lights and everything, a cross-process filter would look really good on this. You know, neon lights and I got this from, if you know Noe Alonso, his channel. We did a collab once where I did sort of a cyberpunk photography, and he was doing like macro photography, flower photography. This is where I kind of picked up this mindset of working with neon lights. It was really an inspiration from his channel and doing that collaboration with them. And then, yeah, I think all I did was frame it, and I was done. Okay, so then I went inside the diner, and I got a milkshake, it was a really good milkshake. mint chocolate chip with a brownie, and then they blended it together. So and whipped cream and a cherry. It was really good. $5. Yeah, nothing special here. This one I simply cropped it to straighten it. You can see the outlines. And then I think I did the same thing. I did a cross-process filter. So again, cross-process filters work good with neon lights. And this isn't really neon, but it was very luminous, right? So this is another picture where I did think ahead. A cross-process filter would look good on this. So let me reset this so you can see the original. And yeah, this image is not bad, but it's basically a snapshot, right, of the jukebox. People say that's a really cool jukebox, but they're not going to remember it as a photograph, like an image. It's not going to make an impression on them as a photograph. But I feel like when I added the cross process and then just softened it up a little bit with a, let's see, I framed it and then I had to straighten it a little bit because this line here is crooked. So what did I do? Yeah, I just straightened it out a little bit like that. And that's all that was. But I thought that turned out to be a really nice image. We're almost done. Troy, are you talking about the jukebox image? You think that looks better with the filter? I think it does, yeah. It does look a lot better. Here is, this is the Elvis room. And what I tried to do here was basically the symmetry of the tables, but then capture all of the images inside. And there was a lot of really strong color. Okay, yep, the jukebox. Yeah, I think it looks a lot better with the cross process. And I think all I did here was just apply. This is not the image I put in the vlog though. I might have been playing with this after I finished that vlog. I think I used a cross process 2 filter. This was one of those images where I kind of experimented with vintage because there's so many colors in this image. I mean, even if, let me just reset it. Even the raw image itself is not too bad, but it needed something to kind of give it some, I don't know, some spice, you know? So I did experiment a lot with this picture before I came up, and then I ended up with a cross-process filter. I think this is the one I used in the vlog. And then I just added a frame. And I thought that looked pretty good, but like I said, it's not for everyone. I kind of still got mixed feelings about this picture. I think it's a nice picture, but I'm not sure what. I'll have to work on this a little more. As a set, as like I said, when I put it together with my photo album as a set, I think that picture works, but by itself, it's not very strong. Oh yeah, and then yeah, here's me drinking the thing. I put that on my Instagram account. That was the first time I think. What's unique about this is I actually took this picture, and let me look at the Instagram image. Here, I'll show you. This image here. Oops, I lost my. 1 second. Where did it go? Yeah. This is the first time I ever took a picture in the camera, uploaded to the phone, and posted to Instagram. So I don't know. Other than that, there's really nothing special about this picture. But that is the first time I ever did that. Okay. And then I think, yeah, this is the end of the road here. This was the last picture I took. And instead of a cross process, I said, let me do a key line because the letters here are so large. And this jukebox image is very large. I thought a key line would look good here. But you can see, let me reset it. This is the raw image. And it's okay. It looks grossly underexposed. But I'm not going to try and recover shadows on an image this dark. And again, I didn't want to apply any exposure or color post-processing, like using the sliders for this vlog. I just want to do everything straight out of camera, then apply an art filter. But across process 2, the problem is, again, this image is still too dark. So I think the cross process 2 would have looked okay, but the key line brightened the image up quite a bit. And I think that makes for a better image. And all I had to do was frame it like so. And we're done. So that's it for editing. Sorry, I got 2 screens going on. That's the editing for all of the images that I did on that photo walk or vlog or drive-by, whatever I call it now. Oh, okay, good, Roberto. Yeah, Workspace is an awesome software. Oh, okay, yeah, let me get back to your question. I think from Pete, right? Says, talk about how you decide to use which tool. Roberto, if you're talking about Lightroom, I'll talk about that in just a second. So Pete asked me, could I talk about when I decide to use Lightroom versus Workspace? And mainly, it's for 9 times out of 10, I use Olympus Workspace for all of my photo walks and my vlogs and drive-by photography, just like I did in this video, in this live stream. I simply do a little bit of crop if needed, and then apply an art filter that I think is appropriate for the image. And the only time I use Lightroom, here, I'll open it up for you, is when I need to do my pro work in real estate, really. And I use it to catalog and organize my photos. So I did talk about how I organize photos in general, and it's not really different in Lightroom. But, I do pictures, my Lightroom catalog here, then 2019, then I break 2019 into 3 or 4 quarters. And then I go into the 3rd quarter, and then I just do it chronologically by date. And that's it. This keeps me from having to scroll so much. Oh, that's not Lightroom. That's, here it is. Lightroom Classic is what I use. But I use it mainly for the cataloging features and for my pro work. So I'm gonna open it up here and put it on the screen for you in just a second. And this is the only time I really use Lightroom. Or if there's an image I really like that's the exposure is so bad on it that I have to fix it, then I use Lightroom. But it's rare that and I'm not being cocky or anything, it's rare that I take an image that I like so much and the exposure is wrong. Usually I get the exposure right when I'm in the field if I really like the picture. All right, let me open this up. Okay, so same thing here, 2019, 3 quarters. But the main reason I use this, I got the fonts all really large so it's easier to see in the live stream, but actually in real life, this is the size I use because my eyes are so bad. Let's see. Oh, here it is. No, that's not it. Let me do view. Oh, why am I not seeing it? Library. Oh, go to grid. Duh. I use Lightroom mainly for this, right? Because I can sort by camera, I can sort by lens, I can sort by aperture, keyword, file type. So this is all I need really to find an image. So if I back up a little bit, let me back up to, let's back up. Let's look at everything I did in the third quarter, okay? So you can see for 3 months, I took what, 11,000 images. This will be kind of interesting, right? Sorry, I have to look at something here, not that. Okay. So this is everything I did. Is my face blocking? It's blocking a little bit. Let me move this to here. So this is everything I did in 3 months. I took 7,900 photos with my EM1 Mark II, 500 with my, now my EM10, the reason it's so low is because I told you how the battery door broke on the bottom. So I didn't really use the camera very much at all. 10PL8, yeah, I just haven't been using that much lately. My D750, what the heck did I take 8 pictures of? My porch, my backyard. I don't know why I got the D750 out. I guess just to see if it still worked. Now the EM1 Mark II, you can see, let's see. I took it to Shenandoah. But I think, oh, you know why there's so many images on that? When you're doing pro capture and birds in flight, yeah, you go through hundreds of pictures in a few seconds, right? So these numbers are a little bit deceptively large in terms of how many actual pictures I actually went out to take. Because I might have taken like 300 pictures of this bird, but I really only wanted one, right? As you can see. Let me bring this up a little bit. But anyhow, I see, that's my cell phone. I think these are, yeah, these are pretty recent. And I got that little DJI Osmo. Why are there so many pictures on this? Oh, yeah, I used this for my real estate work. I stopped using it because the results were not great. But the Osmo Pocket has the ability to do panoramics and stitch them right in the software in your phone that I thought I could just deliver to the client as is, but it didn't work out that way. I still use it because it's so small. I leave it in the car, but when you see me vlogging, that's what I use in my car. Is I use that little DJI Osmo usually. I do it time to time with the TG5, but anyhow, let's look at the lenses I use. Most common lens looks like this one. The 8mm. Oh, this is all real estate work. The 8mm f1.8. The 12-40 Pro. What? Man, what did I use this for? Probably. I can't believe I used that lens that much. Oh yeah, I was doing the infrared stuff. That was I used, you know why I used that lens? I used it a lot in a very short period of time because I was practicing infrared. And the infrared filter I bought fit that lens perfectly. So I use the 12 to 40 Pro. I don't actually use the 12 to 40 Pro much for photography. I use it mostly for video. Now this lens I used a lot. See the 17 millimeter f1.8. That's the lens I use the most, it looks like. And then the keywords, that doesn't matter. But okay, I think, I don't know. If you guys have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But I honestly, I'm kind of out of ideas of what to talk about. Yeah, we're almost at 2 hours. But I'll stay on for another 5 minutes and answer any questions you got. The monitor, you talking about your computer monitor, Roberto? What kind do you have now? How old is it? No, I use a monitor that I bought. I think I bought this about I use this one. Sorry, it's getting late. This monitor, I'll try and show you. Hopefully I don't mess up the live stream. This is a widescreen monitor, right? I'm afraid if I pull on this, it's going to unplug. I'll unravel this next time so I can show you my studio and everything next time. But yeah, I use a widescreen. So the resolution is 2500 by 1080. So it's almost twice as wide as a regular monitor. If you're going to get a new monitor, that's one to get. It's definitely worth it. The other thing you need to get is a color calibrator, because you want to calibrate your monitor's colors. So, oh, thanks, Troy. Yeah, go out and shoot. Yeah, I'll try and do some. I'm glad you liked it. I don't know. Sometimes I ramble on a bit. But let me show Roberto. Give you a couple ideas here. Let me move this over. Amazon. I'm just going to go to Amazon and wide monitor. Let's see if they have one here. I think it's this one. This is very similar to the monitor that I have. It's wide. It's not like a 4K monitor or anything like that. But this is really handy. They're not too expensive. I mean, because relative to what monitors cost, they're not super expensive. And it really helps your workflow because you can split the screens up and have two things going on at the same time. And that's really handy for me because a lot of times I need to have two different windows open at the same time. It really speeds up my workflow. So if you're going to get a new monitor, spend about $250. This is US dollars. I'm not sure, you know, something like this. And then the other thing you need to get, I know this gets expensive though, right? When you start adding things up, is the X-Rite color. What the heck is that called? X-Rite monitor calibrator. Yeah. This thing. This thing here, you can get, man, I don't remember spending that much for this, but maybe I did. This is not critical. Let me leave it at that. But if you really want to get, the reason I got one is because in my real estate work, I need the colors to be accurate. So I need my monitor to show me the colors accurately. The monitor is not that far off from the factory, but as a professional, this is very important. So yeah, forget I recommended this. This is too much money to spend for what it does. If you do pro work, yeah, no question, you're going to get one of these. But just for the enthusiast, I don't recommend it. Whoops, what am I doing here? I lost my window. Not that. Oh, okay, we're back. I wasn't sure if I was still live streaming or not. Okay, any other questions? Before we go, we'll call it. Wow, there's like more people on now than there was before. I mean, 19. Not that that's a lot, but I appreciate anybody coming out to just watch whatever I do, honestly. I really, and I know some of you have sent donations in. I have this link where you can make a donation. I really appreciate that. There's about 3 people I need to email and say thank you. So I did get your donation, so I thank you very much. That really helps me out a lot. Yeah, that was Ellie in the background barking. She's my guard dog. So, hey everyone, thanks again for joining me tonight, and I'll try and do this again. I'm going to put out something in the community about what time to do this best. And then I might have to do it twice a week at different times. So you guys have a good night, and thanks again for watching. Now, how do I turn this off? Oh yeah, Roberto, it's going to be up on my channel, I think. Since I figure out how to stop. Oh, here it is. There's a big red button. It's a big red button right there. It says end stream, this thing. Okay, I'm going. Thanks. It's still not ending. It's asking me again. Seriously.